Hello there and welcome to ADcraft. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build this fantastic futuristic base design in your world. There will be a full world download and details of how to get that later in the video, so don't go anywhere and let's get on with the build. These are the blocks you'll need for the build. If you wish, you can switch out the smooth quartz for white concrete. You'll also need some junk blocks and some blocks to mark out the space. The first thing to do for this tower is to lay out the floor plan. Now the white with the cyan circles show you where the main quartz line is going to go, and those are going to be the domes themselves, with the cyan being the sea lanterns. And the purple circles show where the twisty bit of the tower is actually going to go. Now it's worth putting these in, marking them out wherever you're building this, even though we're not actually going to build directly on them, because when you are building above them, it's easy to look down and make sure you're on the right track. So pause the video, make sure you've got everything set up, and then let's carry on with the build. The first stage of this build, we're going to take this inside purple circle, and we're going to bring the build round from one of the sides to the other side, and that will bring us up to the full height of the build. Now the way that we do this is we are going to be going up by steps of 2 each time. So each time we go up 2, we're going to be coming across 1, and so on and so forth, right the way around the build. And that's why it's useful to have this purple circle here, or some marking. Doesn't have to be purple in your build, but some marking to know where you're actually following this round. And what we're going to do is, you'll need some temporary blocks for this, but we're going to come up to, then anything that's on the inside of this, you can leave the blocks, so you can just keep coming into and up. And with this circle, it is a so the one in the middle is a 17 circle, which means that this is 2 more each side, so this is an extra 4, and we're talking about 21 diameter circle for this. So this has got 7 blocks, so it's going to come up 14 blocks, but it's going to go across the 7 blocks. So as we can see, we're stepping up 2 each time. We'll do the same for these, and you can see 1 2 3 4 5 6 and then 7, and that brings us level with the edge here. And when you get on top, if you're using scaffolding or whatever, it's quite easy to see. Actually building with scaffolding is really useful for this build, because then the scaffolding gives you an idea of something that ties it back to the ground. But if you're building it in creative, then obviously you can just float over and look down. When we get to this point, we are going to use some temporary blocks though. So when we get to the curves, obviously we need to still go up the 2, but we've got to come across, and there's no touching blocks apart from on the corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to come across with a couple of temporary blocks, and then we're going to pillar up and get rid of those temporary blocks. And that brings us across to the next level. Now for this next one, again, we can leave this in because it's on the inside. We don't leave anything where it's on the corner though, because that would then be visible. So I'll show you again. We've come up 2 and we've come up 2 more. Now we've got another corner, and I'll show you with the dirt so that you can see the difference. So what we're going to do is bring it out with 2 blocks like this, and then come up with 2 blocks, and then it's easy to see what blocks you get rid of. So you can see it's starting to curve round. And I'll just carry this on to the edge here, but you will carry it right the way round to this edge. So when it gets to the point here where it's directly opposite where it started, like rotationally, where it's gone half a circle round, that's where you stop. And we'll come across, like I say, with again some dirt, so you can place it on the side or you can place it on the top like this, and then you've got something to place against. Entirely up to you, but come up like this with 2 more blocks. And so what you have is 7 across here, then it goes 2, then it goes 1 1 1, 3 individual sets of blocks that come along, and then it goes back to a 2 coming this way. So let's again just bring this across like so, and then it gives us then, oh, moved the wrong one, there we go, the point here. So this is now above that purple one at the bottom, and we go up then the 2 blocks here. So as we carry on round, this has then brought us a full quarter. So again, those ones are the wrong kind of temporary blocks. Let me just show you with these, because these would be temporary. And then it goes up to here. And what you can see there is we've done a full quarter rotation. You do another one of those, and then that takes you to the top point of the build. And then you do it again, starting from the other side, just down here. So you do the same thing here. Now, when this is finished, it'll look a little bit like this. Now, granted, this does look a little bit strange because of the rotation, but I assure you they do line up. So if we stand on this one here, and then we just drop straight off, then we'll land on the second block along. Well, we would have if we hadn't carried forward a little bit. So it's this block here. So this bottom block, this bottom set of two, lines up perfectly with the last two blocks that we finished off there, and the same on the other side. And what we'll also see is that these two bits then line up in the middle. So we're going to have one of these bits here that are going to create the middle section, and we're going to have a top section. So we're going to have three, well, a sphere here, and a dome at the bottom, and a dome there, to give you the finished build. So once you've done that, the next step is to do the same, but on this side. Now the difference is we start this here. So we go up the two blocks, and then we immediately get to this point where we need to come across. And so we can do that with our temporary blocks, and then we come up here. Now, because this, we're going to fill all of these bits in between these two sections in a bit. So this time you can use any temporary blocks on the inside, but not on the outside. So like this, it's on that side of the build, so you can leave it there. What you couldn't do is leave a block here, because that would be in the wrong place. But actually I've gone up too many there anyway. So yeah, we're looking at the underside. So it's 2 up, along 1, 2 up, along 1, 2 up, like we have there. And then this point would be again where we get to the corner. We can come round like this with the temporary blocks, come up to again, get rid of the temporary blocks. Here we're going to come in again, so we've got something to place on, come up with the temporary blocks. So again, we're moving across 3. I'll just very quickly do this. 1 here, come up with the 2, and then this one we get on above this 2 section. So these are a little fiddly. I'm not going to lie, they take quite a while to actually get them done, but it's the only way to get those lovely swooping curves in there. And once it's done, it all looks fantastic. So that one there is done. We can go up on the inside there and come up to like so. And yeah, just carry that on around. And then as you have with the previous one, do the same on the other side. Now the blocks that these will then line up with will be on the inside. So again, it'll line up exactly with the very first block that you started on. So basically we've got 2 of these, 1 on each side, that will rotate all the way round. When you finish building these up, they will match on the same level. So what we've got is this one will finish over the rotational block that it started on. So we started on that block just down there that we can see, and we came up to the top here. With this one, we started on that block just down there, and we came up and carried across the flat section to finish here. So if you've done it all right, these should then match up when you've got to them. And as you can see, you've got the 2-step down on the underside here, and the 2-step down on the top here. The next step, the easiest thing to do, is start at the bottom. And we're going to fill these in between these 2 pillars. So it's easiest to start at the bottom and then fill right the way up. And then obviously when you get to the point here where you've got it changing, then as you fill this up, I won't go all the way up on this, I might as well, there we go. Then you just move along and you fill in from the bottom block that you've got here. So you're filling in basically from the bottom quartz to the top quartz, all the way around the build. And once you've filled that in, you will have these 2 fantastic spirals. Now it's worth noting as well that if you did want to switch out to, say, some white concrete, for example, if I just come down here and grab some, gone too far, white concrete, then you could use the white concrete. It does look quite good, but because we are going to be using some slabs and some stairs, you will need some quartz at some point. However, if you don't mind the transition, then you can save yourself quite a lot of resources by using concrete. Now, that was just for representation, but yeah, I am going to continue to use the quartz because obviously it does look better in the end, and with piglin trading and such and villager trading, you can get hold of quartz more easily. So yeah, I'll fill this in and then I'll come back to you. With those all filled in, as you can see, I filled them into a flat level here. What we're just going to do is we're going to add the top curve on the bit, then we're going to start working on the other bit, the outside of this this circle. So what we're going to do is come across here, 1 block from each of the sides, so that's 5 across. Then we're going to go up 1 block and then come across 3, and we're going to do that on both the sides, and then we'll head back to the bottom and I'll show you how to do the next bit. The next section that we're going to do is the outside circle. Now, as you can see on this side, I've built up a framework just to show you that once it's all done, it does come together and it does follow the curve round. And although it looks complicated, all we're going to be doing is following a number of patterns based on how many of these blocks that we've got. So again, it's really important that we do have some kind of marking that we can follow when we're doing this. The other thing that I found when I was doing that side and building this initially is really useful is using scaffolding. Scaffolding's great because you can just place it from the ground and you can just stand in one place and build up these tall pillars. So I suggest when you come to these, get to these blocks where there's a single one here, that you just start towering up with a whole bunch of scaffolding. And again, yeah, if you don't have scaffolding, you could use dirt, you could use anything that you wanted really in terms of blocks. But yeah, scaffolding is easy to place from the bottom here. And as you can see, we've built a tower, and what we'll do is do the same one here where you've got this block. So again, just building this up, and what this means is when you do build round, you can easily see if you've got to the right place, because if your blocks at this point don't then line up and meet up with the scaffolding, you know that you've made a mistake, and it stops you from getting too far with that mistake in place and means that you minimize the amount of fixing that you might need to do. Now, this is going to be the last pillar of scaffolding that I'm going to be placing, because again, because this is a rotation, once you get to this first section here and get to this bit here, you're literally just doing exactly what you did again, but carrying it round to the end here. So I think that should be high enough. Just chuck a couple more in. Now, how are we going to go about this? Well, as I said, there's just going to be a number of patterns, and with these patterns, they're going to kind of repeat all the way around. So depending on the number of blocks that you're looking at, and in some cases for the edge where you are, then that'll tell you what you're going to do. So for this bit and this bit, they're going to be symmetrical around the center point here. So what we're going to do is on this outside, just outside this block here, we're going to come up 1, then we're going to come up 1.5 blocks, and this is where the slabs start to come in, and then we're going to come up again 1.5 blocks. So as you can see, we've got an increase of 1, then 1.5, 1.5. That brings us to this first section where we transition outwards. So put some temporary blocks in there. And for this one, we're literally just following what we've got inside. So this, you'll see, will line up with the inside. So each of these, we're going up 2 blocks, like so. And yet you can just see as we hover over that we are lining up. And then we're moving back and doing the reverse of what we've done here, which is just get some stuff in place, and we're going to be going up the 1.5 blocks. So you've got a block and a slab, then we're going to go up 1.5 blocks again, so you've got 2 full blocks, and then for the final bit we're just going to go up the 1 slab like that. And as you'll see, because of this rotation, as we move round, that starts to line up as you move round the circle, and this is what we're going to keep going with for all of this section. So again, that still lines up, so we're in a good place. We move across to this section here with, again, some temporary blocks to bring us in, and for each of these double sections we're going up by 1.5 blocks each time. So you've got a block, there's your half block, and then with the 2 it gives you 1.5 here. For each of these single blocks, when we come to them, and we know now that we are in the right place because we've got this scaffolding here, we're literally, and I can just place against the scaffolding for the sake of this, you're going up one block only. So as you can see, you've got the 1.5, 1.5, 1. And then because we've got another set of 2, we're going to go up 1.5 for each of these. So we're going to go up again, placing here, 1 block there, your half block, and then your other 1.5 blocks. So that is basically the pattern that you've got going on around the outside. Every time that you hit one of these 2s, each one of them is going up by 1.5 blocks. Every time you hit a 1, it's going up by 1 block. And then you've just got that slightly different pattern that you've got at the end. And this will mean that the whole thing, when you do it, will line up. And so let me just finish off this little bit here around here with exactly the same pattern. So here we've gone up the 1, 1.5, and this time we're going across this way. And again, we've got to the point where we line up with this. And because this is a 1 block, we're going to place 1 block. Now on the other side of this, we're getting towards the end. We're going to go up 1, not there, clicking the right place, 1.5. The 2 blocks there to give us the second 1.5. And then what you'll see is we've now met up with this extra bit. And when we come across here, we're going to come across, and the first one's going to be 1 block. So we've now done one section of the pattern, and we repeat this right the way round. So here we go with the 1.5 again, and then the 1.5 on this section. And again, as you can see, the benefit of the scaffolding is that it lines up exactly. And then at this point here, as you'll see when we step out again, it matches up. So it's about checking with all of these things and just following those patterns. So when you've got a 2, just to repeat again, you've got 1.5 each time. When you've got a 1, you go up 1 block, and then you have this 1, 1.5, 2 pattern going through this extra bit. So 1, then 1 for 1 block, 1.5 for 2 blocks, 2 for 3 blocks, and then back again. So the 1.5 for 2 blocks and the 1 for 1 block. Now that we've talked about this outside curve, we're going to talk about the underside curve here. And this is, in essence, exactly the same pattern. So once you've started off, you'll be following exactly the same rules of going up on the underside by 1.5 for each of these and 1 for each of these. The thing that you need to do is make sure you start it in the right way. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a block, and we're going to place a slab next to that, and then we're going to place a block on top of that. At this point, you've now got the right curvature that you're going to follow through round here. So again, when we bring this into the inside here and get rid of these 2 temporary blocks, this is going to be 1.5. But you have to flip it. So again, to get a 1.5 block increase on this side, you need to place 2 blocks with your slab next to it, and then you can place a slab on top. And as you can see, you've got 1.5 blocks here, 1.5 blocks here. That brings us in line with the first corner. And at this point, again, you just place a single block. So again, nothing more complicated than we've done before. But then on here, we've got this one coming out here. So again, we need 2 blocks to allow us to have that 1.5 gap by placing a slab here. So you've got 1.5 and then 1.5 again. So I'll just very quickly do that, show you that for the next section. Bring that out, get rid of the 2 temporary blocks. Again, for this to go up by 1.5, we need it to go up by 2, and then have the half slab there with the block on top. Brings us back to this point, which is just a single block. And this point here, we repeat the pattern. So again, it is, once you get used to the patterns, it's just making sure that you go by those same rules each time that you do it. And you have got these points with the scaffolding in there, and you have got these points where you reach these flat bits, which give you the opportunity to check that you are in line. But yeah, just go round, as I've mentioned, with that pattern. Same on the underside here. Here, this is, again, we're moving in here, so we'll bring in the block here. So with this underside, what we're going to be doing is, because it's the underside, it's the opposite of what we did at the top, where we had a block 1.5, 1.5. We're going to have 1.5 and then 1.5 again, like this, and then 1. So it's repeating the pattern, but on the opposite side here. That then means, as you will see, that we line up perfectly with this block there. So again, as we come in underneath, if we place that line of blocks, you can see that that lines up on this side as well. So yeah, slightly complicated, slightly fiddly again, but as I say, it is a complex build, and the results, as we can see over here, they speak for themselves. They're fantastic. So carry on with all of those, and then I will show you just how to finish off the top section. Now, with carrying on that bottom section right the way up here, this is how the final design will finish, with that 1, 1.5, 1.5. In order to do the top section, all we're going to do is get rid of these 2 blocks, and we're going to bring it up 1 on the inside here, and then we're going to come across and up. So again, it matches up here, and then for this bit, obviously we need to come up and across the 3. So it's going to have the 3 flat top here, and that point again on the other side, we're just going to pretty much match what we've got here with the 2 spaces in the difference. So again, depending on where you stopped, make sure it lines up with the other side and how we've got this, and we just round this off in the same way, but obviously bringing this out. So we've got a 3 block gap here in between these 2 sections, and we've got this 3 wide bulge that goes all the way down. The next section is quite similar to the first. All we're going to do is literally fill in all of these gaps. So everything, again, between these pillars that we've got, we're going to fill this in right the way round the build like that. And I will show you what that looks like once that's all filled in. Now we've filled in the sides, we're going to add some sea lanterns to the outside of this. Now there's a particular way of doing this in terms of counting down the number of blocks. And at the top, because we've got this curving off, it's slightly different. So the first thing that we're going to do is go down 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th block, we're going to place a sea lantern, and that's going to be the top one for this. We're then going to come to the middle of this 3 wide section next to it, and we're going to go down 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the 6th block, we're going to place a sea lantern. Those are the 2 that have a slightly different height to the rest of the blocks. Everything else, all of these other placements, are either going to be 6.5 blocks down if you've got a half slab on top, or 7 blocks down if you've got a full slab on top. So where we're going to place these are, we've gone through to that 3 section, then we're going to come to the edge of this 2 section. Because it's got half slab, we're going to count down 6.5 blocks. So that's, we'll leave off the half, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th block. Then we're going to come across again, and we're going to put it on this side, the inside of this 2 wide section. So again, this is a full block, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and it goes in here. Now we just carry that on, so this is the halfway point. We just carry that on and mirror it on the other side of this. So we've got this, and it's a half block, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then where we've gone to the edge of this 2, it's a full block here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fill it in there, and as you can see, you get the idea. By doing that, we just count right the way round till we get to the end. So like I said, if it's a 7, then if it's a full block, you go down 7. If it's a half slab on top, you go down 6 blocks, excluding the half slab, of course. So do that. We'll do that one more in this middle section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, and it goes in here. And then again, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, and like I say, you just carry that on, following right the way round in exactly the same pattern. So it'd be the middle one of these three, the outside edge of these, the inside edge of these, so either side of this 1x1 pillar. When you get to the very bottom one, then all we're going to do is we're going to come up. We're not going to count down for this one, we're going to count up. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, and then we place the very last one on the 4th block. For the next stage, we are going to be filling in the area in between these on both the sides. Now, this is the point where you want to choose what colour that you want to use. If we see the original over there, I did use the cyan terracotta in the first one. But for this one, I want it to be a little bit more colourful, a little bit brighter, so I'm going to be using some cyan concrete. The first step that we're going to do is on the inside, we are simply going to be anywhere that we have these blocks, we're going to be placing it so there's a single line of white of smooth quartz or white concrete, depending on what you're using, all the way along the inside. So like I say, just making sure that there's that full block that is visible. Now as you get round and you get to the corners, it's a little bit how you want to deal with those. So for example, coming up like this, you get to this corner, you can come in and you might say, actually I'm going to bring that up 2 blocks at this point as well. But yeah, just make sure you have got at least the 2 blocks. Like for example here, I'm going to leave that as a gap and then come up round like so, so you don't actually bring it up level. I'm not going to be doing a full block by block on this particular bit because it's really up to how you think it looks best. If you wanted, you could fill it right the way up to the top, but the aim of it really is just to kind of leave it so that you've got this indent all the way around. So yeah, fill those in on the inside on both of the pillars. Obviously what you do on one side, it's definitely worth making sure you do the same on the other side so you're at least consistent, and then we'll get to how you fill in the rest on the outside. Once you get to the top, you simply loop it round and carry it back round on the underside as well. So again, exactly the same thing, just making sure you're leaving a block gap all the way round. When that's connected down to the floor at the bottom, we simply do the same on the other side. So again, yeah, just this time it's entirely up to you how you connect them up. So when you get to a point like this, you might want to connect them up like that, and bring it round like so. Now, also the other thing to note is we do have some slabs on some of these columns. So it depends how you want to connect these up for your slabs. You might only want to leave a slab distance so that it actually lines up like that, or you might want to keep it so you've got a full slab, or even select it and do it so you've got a combination of both like that. So yeah, however you want to do it, just make sure you've got a nice white outline going right the way around the edge of the build to give it some depth when you're looking at it and flying or going around the building. When you reach the top, as with the previous side, just come back round with everything underneath as well. Now at this point, if you're building this in survival, you should get some light from the sea lanterns, but you may want to add some extra lighting in here just so you don't get nothing spawning. With both sides filled in now entirely on the underside and on the top, then now we're going to start working on the domes and then the spheres. Now the spheres are exactly the same as the domes, but just one dome with another dome underneath. So I'll give you the details for how to make the domes, and then obviously just repeat that with the spheres when we start putting those in the right places. But the first thing that we're going to do on both this space and the space over here is wherever we've got a wall block, we're going to fill that in with some quartz, and then whenever we've got a cyan wall block, then we're going to fill that in with a sea lantern, and we'll do that all the way around. But now this is going to be an entrance, so we don't actually need to fill these bits in here. So this is we're going to cut this through this pillar in a while. But aside from that, for all of the bits on the bottom, just one block high, the sea lanterns and the quartz. Now we're going to start working on the domes. Now these two domes are going to be exactly the same, so again I will show you on just one. And these are based on a circle which is a 17 diameter circle. Now if you're wanting to know how to do this, then basically the long side you've got 5, then you've got 2 across, 1, 2 out to the side, and then 5 round again. And that's a pattern that again we're going to be using to build up this dome, and then obviously double up to build up the spheres themselves. It's worth noting at this point that there will be a world download for this entire world, including this build, on my Discord channel, so make sure you check the description for that and come and pick that up if you want to see this in more detail. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to take this over and we're going to create the equivalent of this dome going over the top. So we're going to create a line which is using the glass, and you, if you're doing in survival, will need also some extra junk blocks. But what we're going to do is, starting at the sea lantern, we're going to come up 2, and then we're going to come out and up the 2, then we're going to come out and up 1, out and up 1, out and across 2, which then lines us up here, which means that when we go across, we go over 5. We are going to take some of this out to connect up, but for the sake of making this dome and showing you how to do it, it's easier to leave the glass in. Then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to come out 2, we're going to go down 1, down another 1, and then we're going to come up the 2 here, and then across and up the 2. So basically the same as half of this circle, we're going to flip up and go over the top like that. Now we're also going to do this in this direction as well. So I'm not going to show this, but again, we'll just put some dummy blocks in here, even though this is going to be an entranceway, just to make it easier to do. We're going to fill this all in, and then I'll go about the best way for making a dome or a sphere. With this glass in place, we're going to be focusing on making shapes, and we're going to make shapes on each of the sides in the same way. And as we build up the extra shapes on the sides, then they'll merge in the middle, and basically it'll fill in the dome. So what I'll show you on the sides is we're gonna, on each of the sides, we're gonna come in 2 and 2 and up 1 like that. Now how that'll look in the middle is, again, you come out the 2 and basically you're creating a square, a cross, basically a big thick fat cross here. So you're filling in the L shape in these corners like this, and we'll do that. That's the same as basically we've got on the sides, but we'll do that on each of the sides, and then I'll show you step 2. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to build into the middle. So we're going to have 2 here and 2 here. Then we're simply going to connect up in a zigzag between the 2 on one side, and then we'll just repeat the same on the other side. 2 here, connect round and bring this round, and that is the shape that we're going to get on each of the sides now. And again, exactly the same on the top. So you just have the 2 and the 2, and then connect them through like that, and we'll bring all of these in, and that'll be the next layer, and then we move on to the third. Now we've done this, and then we're going to work on the next section now. The reason that we do it like this is if you've, say, missed a block here and you're looking around at it, it's very easy for your eye to pick up the patterns and make sure that everything does fit. So that sticks out quite a lot. So it's easy to do in this way, rather than kind of trying to go round layer by layer and counting blocks. I've always found this is easier. So the next thing we're going to do is we're simply going to surround this entire layer with one more layer of glass like this, and then coming out on the other side as well and going back down and round like so. So again, exactly the same that we've done with the other layers. That is then going to carry on up here, and as you can see, we're starting to connect up the dome itself, and this just goes round the edge like this, and again equally round the edge on the top. So I'll fill that in and then come back to you. With those all in place, then you can see that we've just got these little gaps now that we're going to fill in, and I will use some blue terracotta to show you how to place some of the junk blocks that you'll need, because on this one, because we're bringing this in, you will need some junk blocks. So the best way to do this is to place a junk block in each of these corners, and then place one glass on the inside of that. Now you've got a smaller a triangle, and basically again we need some junk blocks. You need to place 3, and you can just place them around like that. And once you've done that, you just again on the inside you place a glass block on each, and once you take out the junk blocks you'll see that that is completely filled in. So yeah, do that on the side. At this point it's probably worth noting you probably want to leave yourself a bit of a gap, so I'm just going to knock these through so we can get in and out, but I'll complete this, and that is how you do one of the domes. After you've built up the first dome, then do exactly the same with this second dome here. And what we're going to do on this one is, because there's not going to be a tower coming out of this one, we can just replace this middle block here with a sea lantern just to add a bit of extra light in the base. We're also now going to build up the entrance, and what we're going to do is we're going to knock out a 3x3 across here, and we're going to take out both of these 2 blocks, and what we're going to do is we're going to build up with 2 quartz, and then we're going to have a quartz here and here with a sea lantern in the middle, and just simply finish off very simple entrance with a quartz stair there. So we've got a nice entrance here. To connect this through to the other dome, what we're going to do is we're going to create a 2x3 wide with an extra one going out the middle here that is going to run through this build. And what we're then going to do is do the same here, knock through with the 2x1, and we'll see here that with this you'll also need to fill in some of this gap with some of your cyan or whatever colour you've used. And here you'll need to take this block out, which will leave a hole on the outside. Now if you fill that in and come out quickly, all you need to do there is add a quartz slab, and it just finishes off the look of the build there. But other than that, we are going to take out these as well, and we're also going to take out these as well. Knock that, push that back one like so, and connect them up with some glass just going through across the top. And if we just add an extra sea lantern here for light as well, we can bring that across and bring that across here, and then we just fill in the sides like so, and then we've created our walkway. Anywhere like this where you can see the edge, we just fill in with the cyan, and then we just knock these blocks out and it leads us directly in, and we do exactly the same as we have done. We replace this middle block, and this one can be a sea lantern, and we just connect it up with glass, not there but there, and then it connects up like so, and then we've got the full walkway that takes us from one side of the base to the other. Now I've placed some sea lanterns just in the middle of each of these sections, just to give a little bit of extra light, and the final touch for this bit will be to replace everything of this floor with, again, whatever floor you choose, but in this, because it is a futuristic build, I'm also going to be using more quartz, so quartz all around here. So I'm going to replace all of this right the way through the build with some quartz. Now we've got the floor in place and the entranceway leading right the way through, we're going to put the spheres in, and the first point of this is to find out where those spheres are. Now this I've marked just on the inside here to show you that this actually lines up with the sea lantern that we placed in the middle of this 3 wide bit on the outside. So the easiest way to find this hole is to literally just knock through to do that. So the sea lantern itself we're not actually gonna be using, but I've done the same on both sides for this. If you did want to count it in, it's one beneath where this first bit goes inwards, and then it's in 4 blocks, and we're going to place that. And what we're going to do is we're going to place a junk block and then a sea lantern on this side, and the same on the other side like so. So we'll just do that for now as the marker blocks, and then I'll show you where we're going to place the ones up here before carrying on. So these ones, again, they all line up with the middle blocks on the bottom floor, but this one, if you need to count it out, is 1, 2, 3, 4 across, and then on the 3rd block down from this very edge piece here. or if you prefer, it's 1 block down from this top bit and then 4 in. And again, we're going to bring that in with a junk block here, and then just place a single block like so, ready to build out from. Now we've marked our locations, we're going to start on both of these, and I'll just show you with one because they are literally identical how you would do them. We are going to build out the circle first of all for these. So the circle is 5 blocks across, then it comes in and goes out 2 blocks with a sea lantern as the second block, and then it comes in a block, it comes in another block like this, and then we have a sea lantern here where we start with the 2. So this is the pattern that goes through. So it's sea lantern 2 blocks out, a block in, and then a sea lantern, 2 blocks in, and then a sea lantern. We start to go across, and then junk blocks there. Oh, that one's meant to be a sea lantern. So as you can see, that's a quarter there. I'll just continue it around for a full half to show you that it lines up. So yeah, using some junk blocks like dirt or something then is easy to do this. However, as you get used to doing these circles, then they do become miles and miles easier. So yeah, let's just get this sea lantern on the edge here with a block, and then the next ones are just those 2 blocks, and as you can see, it lines up here. So we replicate this on the side all the way around, and we also do the same up here. So we'll have 2 circles directly above the circle that we've got as this base dome. Now with these 2 rings in place, we've got the top one in, now we've got this middle one in. We just do exactly like we did with the previous dome. So you'd come up and then you'd come out and up 2, but way we do it on the top, we'd also do it underneath like this. So we'd come up and we come down the 2 like this, and then it's a 1 and a 1, so on and so forth. Like I say, you do, by the end of building this, get very, very used to this 17 diameter circle, which is probably my favorite circle in the game. But yeah, fill that in, and just all the instructions go and rewatch that section if you need to. Fill in a dome on the top and a dome on the bottom, and then you've got your 2 spheres, and I will show you the finishing touches. With those 2 spheres in place, we're now going to connect them up, and that is as simple as coming here. I just left some holes so I could get in and out of these spheres once I built them. We knock out a 3x3 gap like so, and that will leave the edges here, and when we connect these up, they will line up with the top, where we can have another 3x3 hole. So what we're going to then do is create this 3x3 wide pillar right the way down the center of the build with glass on all 4 sides. So we'll do exactly the same here. So knock out these, so we've got the 3x3 that carries on, and yeah, just fill all of this in like this right the way up the build. With the tower all connected up with this glass pipe going right the way through, which incidentally is big enough for up and down bubble columns if you were looking to get between these, and obviously these spheres are plenty big enough for you to put a couple of floors in. They look a little bit weak, so we're going to add some structure, and we're going to do this with some end rods. Now we're going to be placing end rods right the way up, back and forth like this, all the way up the build. And that's going to be on both these levels, and we're going to place them in the middle here, in the middle of these 3. We're going to also place them in the corner like this, and then doing the same. And what this will do is create a surrounding section of end rods that look like they are some form of hyper-strong alloy kind of holding up these spheres. So I'll get these filled in for you. The other thing to do is that we're simply going to replace this with the quartz that we had before, and using the end rods again as the alloys there, we're going to connect up to the edge of the build like so on all of the sides where we've got the edge of these domes. So we come down here, spheres rather, so we come down here again, switch this out for the quartz, and then we place some of the end rods in against the side here, and that also adds another element of support to the build. And then once that's done, we're finished. I'll show you the completed design. Looking at the build now as it is finished with the default textures on. So yeah, I think it looks fantastic. Obviously the glass hasn't quite got the connected textures in the same way, and smooth quartz is not quite as smooth, but aside from that, it's just an HD version of vanilla, the texture pack that I use anyway. So this is the finished build, and now I will show you the final thing in shaders. Now with the build finished, I think it looks fantastic. And as you can see, we have another one over here. The one I've built today is slightly different because when I built that one, I built it freehand. So there were things like the two twisty pillars didn't match up in some of the details. So this one is a consistent build that if you follow the tutorial, you'll be able to get the same build every single time. And yeah, we'll quickly come in here. This is it's a decent sized build, so there is plenty that you could do. I mean, you could add stairways and build underground for this if you wanted this to be the surface of your mega base. You could add some floors in here, but as you look up here and come up to the top, yeah, you could do plenty with this. And one of the best things about this is when you do get up to the top, you get a fantastic view out whatever your environment is. So this is my futuristic world. There's videos on all of these builds, so if you like the look of anything you see, please do check those out. They're all in the futuristic all in the futuristic playlist. Not all of them have tutorials yet, but let me know any that you would like to see the tutorials for, and I can see what I can do. So let's head out and have a quick last look at this build. The one other thing that I wanted to say was to say thank you to Jimothy Green for this fantastic skin from my Discord. There's other skins from my Discord. I ran a competition recently, and yeah, I'll be showing those off in some of the future videos, but this one, I really liked the colour variants with this, so yeah, thank you for that. And the other thing that we need to do quickly is have a look at this build whilst it is night time, because then the builds really do come to life as well. And now that it's night time, you can see that the build really does come to life. I try to do all of the builds in this world with as much lighting as possible, and I really think it does make a difference here as we have a look at these. I hope you have enjoyed this build. This was the first futuristic build that I ever did in this world, and I promised that if it hit 10,000 views I would do a tutorial, so hopefully you've enjoyed that. If you have enjoyed it, please do let me know in the comments. Please do leave a like, and if you don't already, hit that subscribe button to see more videos like this. In the background there you can see the previous tutorial in the series, the futuristic tower base. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and all that's left to be said is I will see you next time on ADcraft.